So yeah, today we're going to cover Audacity. Then towards the end of class, we can check out the Project 3 guidelines or lack thereof, and also check out some student examples from last semester, kind of get you thinking a little bit. So if anybody is going to be using an external application for audio, just know that if it's not, what is it? Not Premiere. Is it Prelude, right? Adobe Prelude? Yeah, now I'm blanking. Prelude. Okay, let's see. As an ingest, no. Audition. So yeah, you can use Audition if you want. I haven't really used it myself. So any external applications beyond Audition, I want you to clear with me first. But otherwise, everybody should just use Audacity if you can help it. It's pretty simple. So once you have that downloaded, we're just going to launch it and kind of dive in. There isn't a ton that we're covering in this tutorial. There's just going to be a bunch of ample time to play around. And the goal for today's class is going to be getting a general understanding of the tools and effects panel, and some ways that you as a user can utilize layering towards your benefit. And then we're going to just be like kind of making up a mock, track. Everybody should be able to do that before the end of class. We'll have plenty of time. So first thing you should do, this is if you don't have any audio to play with on your computer right now. If you just want something quick, you download this folder. I already have, so I don't need to. I guess that's the second thing. And then before we dive in, I also like to cover just a brief little mention about input settings in your external output. And the first place you always want to check if things aren't working correctly, or you plug in a separate piece of hardware. You always want to check your system preferences. So for Mac, it's under sound, and then we can literally check both the input and export output. Jeez, blah, blah, blah. The one interesting thing about audio on a Mac is it's very restricted. I guess it's not interesting. But the interesting thing is that there is this application here that I use called Soundflower. And it's like a two-part program. And Soundflower allows you to route audio very specifically in different ways, only for Mac computers though. So I'm sure there's alternative solutions for PC. So for my computer, just as an example, if I were to use my output on my headphones, if I change my volume up and down, you guys can see this, right? The volume control. So that's totally fine. But like if I didn't have them and I wanted it to be on my cheap, crappy monitor here, there's speakers in it. I can change it to that. It'll output audio to that. but I can't change the volume. There's no control over HDMI signal. Why? I don't know, but they just don't offer it, which is really kind of a dumb feature. However, that's where something like Soundflower could come in, because it can route the audio that I want specifically. So I can send it to Soundflower, and then Soundflower can send it wherever I want. And then I still have that option to change volume. So it's not just this. There's a lot of different features for using something like Soundflower. This is more like advanced digital use of audio. But you can get into using MIDI with this. So it's more than just one input. You can route multiple inputs to multiple sources, multiple outputs, you know, record only one line of audio and not something else. So definitely worth, you know, saving or notating that this could be a solution down the road if you have a need for it. Soundflower was actually made, like created, using Adobe, or not Adobe, Max MSP. So, you know, it's pretty cool. Our program, DMS, has current licenses for Max MSP, and there's Jason and Court are doing courses in them. Has anybody taken those courses? Any of those courses using Max? I think they're probably senior level. Not entirely sure. But if you are interested in like advancing, you know, more audio experimentation and design and that route, they're the two to talk to. But they've started incorporating Max. So it's kind of interesting that something like this, that's powerful like this, to route audio on a computer, anybody can download it, it's free, was made in Max MSP. So it's like, oh, well, you could go out and make the same kind of thing, right? So beyond just your computer's preferences, if you continue to have problems, you'd also have to go into preferences in Audacity and see what might be going on. I have minimized, yeah. So I didn't even read that. Save changes, yes. Okay, I already knew this. Why do I have to save as if I already saved it? That's the question. Like, I already saved it. Oh. Interesting. So earlier, I was working with Audacity and I was having problems. So I restarted my computer, still had problems during class. So I had to, as I mentioned, I deleted Audacity and did a PRAM, all these things, reinstalled Audacity. And now when I'm saving the project file, it's not a .aup, it's a .aup3, which is interesting. I'm gonna actually delete all of these. And so let's all go into Audacity, right? Open it up. This is your project window. There's just no tracks on it yet. This is a new file. So you could have multiple new files open simultaneously, right? There's no tabs, I don't think, just different windows. And so the first thing we should probably do is just go up and import some audio. So we have something in here. Doesn't matter what we do. I'm going to do sawing wood. Just bring in some kind of audio, right? So we have something we can see. Playback, you could just hit the play button, but I would probably avoid that. I would just get in the habit of using the spacebar, right? So now that we have something in here, let's go ahead and save this. Save project. If you're new to audio and this confuses you, maybe you should leave this warning up for the time being. This is letting you know, just like in Photoshop, how when we save a Photoshop project, we're saving a .psd, right? We're not saving an image, we're saving a project file. This is what this is saying. This is going to save an Audacity project file. If we wanted to have an audio clip to listen to, a track, we would want to export. That's what it's telling us. So wherever we want to save this, yeah, that's interesting that it's changed to .aup3. Section 2, I cannot type anything. Okay, I'm going to save, and then I'm going to go look at this. Weird. This is changed from last semester. So normally it creates two files, similar like what it's showing us here on the example or the exercise page. It'll save the Audacity project file and then a folder. And both of those have to be kept together, and you should never rename them. If you wanted to rename that project for any particular purpose, you would just want to do, from Audacity, just do another save as and rename it that way so you're not messing up the linking of things. I'm assuming this is, whatever this is, I'm assuming this is working the same way as a folder. But I don't know for sure. I'm going to try this. How about you guys can leave everything open. That closed. Interesting. So this might be like literally just like a soft working file. I think they do this with like Premiere when you're doing renderings and stuff, or what's another one? Adobe InDesign. Like when you're working on a file, it'll give you like a working file. I don't know what this is called. I wish I knew a name for that. But what I'm thinking is everything might be saved under this .aup3 now. So there's not a separate file to have to worry about. Because I just opened this up. Let me do it again. Because there's literally only that. Yeah. So it looks like everything's self-contained now, which is amazing because I've always had so many problems trying to get everybody to manage those pieces well. So that's cool. Okay. Glad we solved that conundrum. So everybody got some audio in there, slapping something on there. We're going to cover tools and kind of just the overview of the program itself so that you have a better understanding of what you're doing. It's very basic. Cool. Audacity is free, and in that sense, you probably will encounter like bugginess more frequently than other, more expensive programs. So just a reminder, you always want to try to save frequently, and if you have something being goofy, probably just need to like quit the program and relaunch it. So in here, we have some basic elements here. This is like our tools panel, playback, and we have our microphone inputs information, our speaker information, and then obviously just menu stuff and our tracks. The project rate you could set down here. We don't have to touch that though. Beyond that, all we really need to know are the different pieces available to us in each of these tracks or layers. So this is a stereo track. It does have a left and right channel, right? And so when you go to do a recording in stereo with like two microphones, both of those are recording the same audio in the same time, right? From just a different location. And so the playback's going to sound pretty much the same way, only fact is that there'll be slight differences to get that acoustic difference. And right now, this layered track, you can see both of these are kind of compiled into this one tab, right? We do have the option to collapse the whole track or expand it, or you could literally grab it and kind of do whatever you need to do as far as size-wise. In terms of real estate, like how much room, space do you have for things? So continuing on from that, we do have this drop-down arrow on the track. And inside of here, we have a couple of like different views that we could use, but those are just kind of obnoxious. Colors. We will be talking about splitting the stereo track here shortly in a few minutes. But each of these different tracks as well, we have the option of setting some of the, these digital elements of the tracks. And so for format, the larger size that we are using, it's just going to be overkill, right? This is what we talked about. In a general sense, you could just have these all be setting to 16, save some storage space, save on your exports as well. Yeah, and then I mentioned like you could hit the space bar to play something. Right now, you should have the selection tool, right, by default, and you could click anywhere, and that you would start your playback from there. Or you could make a selection, right? You can click and drag, make a selection, and then that could be your restricted playback. And it's only going to play one time. There is a kind of an interesting piece here. I am curious. I do have the audio set to playing my audio to you guys. Do you guys hear my audio in the same way you hear your own computer audio? No, it sounds different.
We don't hear anything when you play it.
Oh, really? Interesting. Hello? Well, I think I'm not going to touch Soundflower Bed anymore. The entire time I've been in beginning of the semester, I was using external speakers, so I didn't need Soundflower Bed. Now that I don't have those speakers set up yet, I've been routing the audio with that, but I have weird suspicion that that's doing something to my computer, because it just completely like shut everything down. I wasn't able to use like features on Zoom. Okay, round 2. No clue if you guys will be able to hear anything on Audacity, but we'll continue as best we can. Skip. So I'm not sure why it doesn't open things. Thanks, Audacity. If only you would actually do what you say. Okay. Probably just me, right? That I can hear this. All right, that's fine. I mean, you'll just have to go through and listen to your own audio. So, trying to think where we were. Oh, for playback stuff. So, I think this, I clicked the option to share sound again. Still can't hear it, right? Okay, well, anyway, the point I was trying to make is that you can select audio to play back only a section, and you could do a shift spacebar if you wanted to like repeat a specific selection, which really doesn't do anything in particular for an export, but it could get you starting to think about, you know, different ways of setting up audio. It could be even more interesting once you select only a very tiny portion, you play that back. It starts to be like more of a, you know, just like a frequency almost, or like a distortion, you know, a glitching soundtrack or something. Okay, and beyond that, we can like mute a track, or once we get multiple tracks, we can see what happens with solo, which would mute everything else. But for the most part, that is all of the basic components. From that point on, it's just a matter of like, we'll be talking about splitting this track up, being able to move things, copy and paste things, and so forth. So I think the first thing I like to generally do is get this cut down to something smaller to be more manageable. So what I would recommend is just, you know, deciding, okay, well, I'm gonna choose like one bit that I'm gonna keep, and then we'll just delete the rest. So literally just select whatever and then hit delete or backspace. And you could do the same on the other side, right? Doesn't really matter. We're just checking stuff out. So this is kind of small on my screen now. I can zoom in, right? If I wanted to. And I think the one thing that I didn't show you guys yet, and this is kind of, at least from what I've found, it's kind of a senseless tool. But if we were to zoom in onto this waveform and keep zooming in, we get to the point where we just see individual vector points plotted. There is this pencil tool that allows you to like redraw those. So you're basically like drawing sound, but you really don't hear that. You know, because as soon as you zoom back out to where you'd see the whole thing and you play that, it's just going to be such a minuscule like blip that it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to be doing that sort of thing. Anyway, so now that we have this track, this piece, right? It's a very short piece. Let's take that now as a stereo file, which I'm assuming everybody has a stereo file, right? To use your own audio, maybe you don't have a stereo file. But if we go to this menu option here in the top, and we go down to split stereo track, this will just break it up into 2 mono pieces. And the benefit of this is that now we can have direct modification to either or both of these tracks. And sometimes it automatically sets the pan on one to left and the other one to right. But you kind of want to be thinking about that. Like if we do split this and you are still using both pieces of what once was a stereo track, like you want to be taking advantage of that by using the panning effect. Otherwise, if you're just doing it in the center, it's basically like duplicating a mono track, and you're going to hear it in both ears. So that doesn't really do you much justice. So once you have that done, if you split this to left and right, you shouldn't hear any difference when you play it back. But if you were to start doing things like using this time shift tool, you could actually grab the chunks of audio and move them around, right? So like, what if you offset one of them and then played that back? Does that have any difference in how it sounds? Right? Depending on how much you've moved it, you should probably get like a little bit of a reverb or perhaps more implied spatial kind of effect, right? Or a duplication effect. So not only do we have this ability to move here, but we do have a pretty fun option. So if we take even a smaller section of this and highlight it, we have the ability of taking that out and using that piece for something else. So we could just copy it, Command C, and then go wherever you want, like click anywhere you want and Command V and paste it. Literally just plop that down wherever you want. If you wanted to put that on a new layer, you just click in the empty space below and you could paste it down there. If you wanted the exact same piece of audio and you wanted it to be cut out of this layer, but on a new layer, maybe because you want to play around with the panning, maybe you want to play around with the gain for a chunk of audio in a track, right? There's different reasons. We have a couple of those options up under Edit. There's Clip Boundaries. And this Clip Boundaries is probably something you might want to, like, if you have notes out, jot that down, like under Edit, Clip Boundaries. So it's kind of a funky one to remember where it's at, potentially. But there's 2 options here. I mean, you could do join if you had multiple things you were trying to join, but the split option would literally cut this at the edges, at the borders. So if I just wanted this and I did the split, you'll see the black on the left and the right, which means you could go to your time shift tool now and those could be moved around independently. So it's very similar to like using the razor blade, like in, you know, Premiere. Or if I did an undo there, we could do Clip Boundaries Split New. which would take that out and put it on a new track. So lastly, and this one is kind of along the lines of starting to think about layering audio in a similar way to if you were to like duplicate a piece of a layer in Photoshop or Illustrator, and then take that duplication and make a small modification to it, maybe rotate it a tiny bit, and then give it some transparency, right? Like we could tell it's the same piece that it started from, but because you overlaid it in a similar place, you're also kind of changing the effect of the original too, right? If they're both overlaying one another, there's like this direct relationship. So if we were to take a piece of audio like this, we could also just go to duplicate. And so we have that duplicated, but then we could go through these different thoughts in terms of like, well, now we could turn the gain down on that. And then, this is something I want you guys to be playing around with now for like the next 5-7 minutes or so, is up under effect. We have a bunch of different things that we could be playing with. There's a lot. The ones I really want you guys to be focusing on right now are primarily just the ones in the top here above the line. Once you get into stuff in the bottom, it gets more complex for the most part. But yeah, you should be experimenting with what these do and hearing them. And I can't really describe them all for you. It's something you kind of have to go in and listen to and kind of make a self-documentation. There are a couple other things worth finding up in the menu options, like under generate. But for the most part, most stuff is going to be under this effect that you're going to be utilizing. So I would go through and see what these different things do. Perhaps copy a couple pieces, right? Make a couple of new layers and make different effects of the same sound. And if you have them all basically in line with one another and they have different effects, they're panned in a different way from one speaker to the other, or, you know, some of them are on left, some are on right. And then what happens if you play that back? How dramatically different could you make it just by duplicating and overlaying things, right? And as you go through, if you need to mute anything, you know, remember that you can mute stuff on the side. So yeah, just to recap, I'm going to give you guys about 5-7 minutes to play around with effects with different bits of audio, and just want to see what you guys do. And then once we're done with that, we're going to go on to doing a few more technical bits, and then kind of keep experimenting. Okay, I'm back. Anybody have any questions so far? Okay, so if you're running out of space, it might be good to collapse some things. Actually, probably mute some stuff too. I want us to bring in another piece to get something else going here. So we'll import some audio. And with this next piece, we're going to try doing a pan effect. So let's only get like around 3 seconds of audio to work with, so we can gauge the top up there. That's not a good piece. Oops, this is not. It's about 2.5 seconds. That might work. Okay. So once you have a piece like this, we're going to split it. So again, we drop down the little arrow next to the name. By the way, I don't think I even mentioned, this is the only place you can set names. So it is very short, the amount of real estate you have for that. So it's best to just do things concisely, and then as you need to keep track of things, tweak them. So we're going to drop that down again, split the stereo tracks. We have 2 different pieces. And then we're going to grab this other tool called the envelope tool or envelope tool. Depends on if you want to say things correctly or wrong like me. And then we're going to grab, it has these like highlighted pieces on the top and bottom of each layer. We're going to grab one side of that and just shrink it all the way down to nothing. All the way to the one side. And then we grab at another spot and drag it completely fully open on the other. And then from that point on, we can just even it out by putting a few extra in the middle, and you just keep working your way over and tweaking it out. Right, it only takes a few seconds. So the point here is that this track will be starting from no volume and working its way up to full volume. Whereas the other side, we want it to start at full volume and work our way down. So what you'd want to do is the complete opposite, where we shrink down the full other side and then work our way over it as well. And then when you play this back, you should hear, if you have headphones on, you should hear it fade from one ear to the left. Do you guys hear that? Does anybody not have it?
Could you show us how to do it again?
Yeah, so you just use the envelope tool, and then you're just grabbing this white line and you're shrinking it on one side and you're expanding it on the other. And then just working your way in and adding more points, more vector points. So if you guys did it exactly like me, if you like did it step by step, this should not be working. It's going to sound identical in both ears. Anybody know what I have wrong?
You need to set one to left and one to right.
That's it. So, I mean, you guys can't hear what my audio is, but that's all. Yeah, that's all we're looking for. If this is an individual piece of audio, right, individual layer, you know, you could like solo one of these and just listen to that, and you can hear that effect, what's happening with just that one.
Mm. I do have a question. It's not letting me switch my audio output.
Are you trying to do it to headphones or?
Yeah, I'm trying to switch it from my speakers to my headphones. However, when I do, it's saying that it's registering my headphones, but it's only going out through the speakers.
Are they Bluetooth?
No, they're wired.
Are you on a Mac?
No, I'm on Windows.
Who can help him? I don't know all the updated PC settings. I mean, in general, have you gone into your settings and checked the output, like your system preferences?
Yeah, it's set to my
Okay.
headphones.
Yep. So then the second place you'd also have to check is in here under speaker output. You would want to make sure that that's set to the right one. Did that solve it or no?
That did not. I'm just restarting it and seeing if that'll like reset.
It could. Yeah. I think that might be what was a solution for Bluetooth ones in the past. Like if you connected them after you opened the program. Regular plugins should be good, but
Nope, that fixed it.
all right. So beyond that, let me double check. Oops, this is not the right page. So covering kinds of different effects on your own. We did the pan, splitting, importing. There is an option to record in here. I forgot to tell you the class, but it's just the record button right here. Blah, 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 blah. There you go. There's my blah, blah, blah. It's only going to be as high fidelity as like the recorder that you have on the device. So, you know, could be your phone does better one, but that could do the trick. Exporting is pretty self-explanatory. Aside from like saving the project frequently, we would just go to export as MP3. It looks like you don't even have to install a codec anymore. And wherever we're exporting it, right? Boom, MP3. It looks like right here now too, you get to set your quality. So the lower is going to be fine. And I don't know what this means. I thought maybe joint stereo. Let's look that up. Can use the available bits more efficiently. That is not a clear-cut answer, is it? Sounds like it's an encoding thing. Stereo is considered to be sound produced from 2 channels. Stereo is generally recommended if you're encoding audio at a bit rate of 256 kilobytes or higher. What's this say while we're exporting? I see. So joint stereo is a method used to save file space. So I think joint stereo is the default, and the default is also medium, which is lower. So this will be a lower file size, and it should sound fine. So I guess if you were going for a higher premium, you know, like an extreme, then you would want to do stereo, I guess, just from that basic search. Beyond that, that's pretty much it. So the things that I want you guys to do are to continue exploring for a few more minutes and start to really strive to use the same bits and create something short, right? Like go for like a 15, 20-second thing that you might be copying bits of audio and pasting them, trying these different effects, but also use your layering to your advantage. So I think I mentioned this the other class, not you guys yet, is that if you think about drawing programs like Illustrator, Photoshop that we did, right? We're constrained to that canvas. Everything on that canvas, that's the project, right? Here, we don't have a visual canvas, right? We hear all of these different things without our eyes. So if you're sitting there listening, the canvas is time, and it's also the range of frequency, right? So these highs or lows, different bits of sound. So if you're thinking through what to be doing, let's head back to check out vocab 3. So like, how do you explore the color of sound? Could you paint varying colors of the same sound in the same space, or one right after another? Right? What does that involve? How do you approach that? Experience with loudness and silence, right? You don't have to fill everything completely full, chocked full. Are things harmonious? Are you repeating things? Are you creating a rhythm? And I want everybody to make sure they're really grasping stereo today, because that's like one of the new focal points of this project, is just really grasping how you can use stereo to your benefit. So does anybody have any follow-up questions? Does everybody get a kind of a clear sense of what you could be doing now in the next few minutes?
do have one question about the fading from left to right. Um, the slope that you made with the noise gate or whatever it was, how did you get that to be so, I don't know, smooth, I guess? Because mine always ends up pretty choppy.
So I just, you just have to make more points.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, yeah. If you only did like the beginning and the end, or if you didn't do the middle, if you didn't do the middle points, then it'll be yeah, it'll be looking weird.
Can you show how you split the first stereo track at the beginning into two separate ones?
Yeah. So let me collapse this again. And I'm going to import a file. Fire truck. And so say I want just that. So this is a stereo track. It's set evenly in the middle. It's at, you know, regular gain. You would just click the menu, the track menu, and we're going to go to split. Either one of these should do the same thing. Actually, split stereo track. Ha, I think that's what's going on. Yes, I was always like, why is this so similar? So if we were to split mono, this is going to be evenly, the pan's going to be set to the middle for both channels. If you split it to stereo, it's going to automatically set it to left and right for you. So, you know, just depends on your approach. That could save you a split second, I guess. Cool. So yeah, I'll let you guys go for maybe like another 5-10 minutes. The big point here is to continue experimenting, try to run into any potential problems or questions. And we'll save those until I come back, so everybody can work together or individually. How you guys doing? So, I believe we can talk about some other stuff here, like the project. So hopefully you guys are super excited about this. As I told the first class, it's going to kind of follow along with how that exercise just went. How it's kind of open to your guys' interpretation. This project is an exploration, creating meaning, and kind of like layering, manipulating. That's the project. That's the project. So the theme's really up to you. The whole kind of idea here is that we've gone through these couple projects where I've set a very generalized structure that you guys have to kind of abide by based on your preferences. This is kind of taking it now that step further, and it's thinking up just a concept, right? And what I would be suggesting is following this up in the same way that you did with your first two projects, in that you didn't do all your sketches first, right? And then come up with a proposal, at least you shouldn't have. Same thing here, come up with that concept, get that laid out, and then we kind of plan our attack as we go. And gather your content and manipulate that content based on that concept. So there are a couple different things about the technical requirements that we'll go through more in depth as we work on the project. Bigger things being that you need to be working in stereo, and not just having it be like a stereo track where you have two things recorded and brought in, they're side by side, but like how are you manipulating them, and really utilizing the sense of space of left and right. This top one is actually more relating to the final project. So if you had a general idea that you'd like to create a fusion of your final project, being that the final project also includes audio, you can make your own audio for this project and then utilize that audio for the final project. And there's no reason why you can't tweak things once we get to there too. But, because we are using audio there, you can use this audio there as well. So not that you have to, it could be completely different projects. It is just kind of thinking about that. Like, oh yeah, maybe you want to make these two projects be completely made up by you, right? You can make all the visuals, you can make all the audio, you make the coding, right? You made the whole project. If you have something like that, that kind of usually stands for a stronger portfolio piece, realistically, right? If you're managing and developing all the aspects of it. So it doesn't matter for me, but it depends on what you guys are interested in. So it could be things on screen, or it could be things in the background if you're talking about the final project, the fourth project. But other than that, it just needs to have a few different exports. So you could approach the project by saying, okay, I want to make like 3 different sound effects, right? And you can make 3 different Audacity files, or you can make one file and then you know, maybe all of these sound effects for the one file, the one track, just get muted while you work on the second track, and then you export that track, right? So you could have, your project could be like 3 different audio clips, if you want to think of it that way, sound effects. Or you could make it so that it's like a soundscape, right? You're kind of creating the story or drama or whatever experience you want to unfold over time. And then you just can go through and more uniquely decide, okay, how do I want to export this to suffice this 3 export requirement? Maybe it's like the beginning, middle, and end or something, right? So the only other question people usually ask is, how long does it have to be? I would say the bare minimum would be like, I don't know, 5 to 10 seconds. Maximum would probably be like 5 minutes, 4 minutes. You know, you don't want to go super long because it would take a long time. You don't want to go too super short because then it's going to be very critical on like how you've been doing things. So similar to, you know, writing a paper, kind of get that sweet spot of content manipulation. Oh, I don't have my video on there. Questions?
Yeah, I had one. Can we use, like, for some audio, can we use the audio from the folder that you gave us for the exercise? Can we use those audio for our project?
That screams to you, yeah. Go for it. It's free.
All right.
There is also, go back to the, come on, Zoom. There's also this folder. Where is it? I thought it was here. Maybe it's on the schedule. I thought I had this linked in a couple of spots, but Sound Bible. This website, things are free, but the nice bit is that you don't have to make an account either. A lot of the free places, they do require an account, and then, you know, you get spam or you gotta subscribe or you know, whatever. There are different ways too, like if you wanted to go out and get content from like YouTube videos, there's different websites that allow you to convert a YouTube video to like an MP3. If you were interested in, like, if you have CDs or a DVD or something like that, and you wanted to take content from those sources as well, you know, like, I think some things you just can't take from, you'd have to find whatever's online, like a Disney movie. Sometimes things like that could be really hard to rip. But other CDs in the past, when CDs were a thing, and still DVDs, this Handbrake software used to be, should still be. I don't think it says it's free, but, you know, I don't know the restrictions. This is what I used in the past. It's really helpful for, you know, getting like CD tracks, or you could do that with iTunes, but DVDs, right? Like rip a whole DVD to a computer. So that could be another way to get audio. So yeah, one of the requirements that should be listed on there is you need to use some of your own recorded audio. Things to note as you're going along and you're gathering content. You should be keeping track of where you're getting the content. So as soon as you go to download something, you know, say like, oh, I'm going to use this YouTube video, right? Copy that URL and save it in a text file, because you're going to need to submit a text file. The whole process here is that, like, you're starting to strive to realize that content, like other artists' content, um, you know, may or may not be open to you. You guys don't have to worry about it as being students. But as you start to go out and utilize things in the real world, you always want to be making sure, like, is it accessible? Is it, what's the license for it, right? And then keeping track of where you got that. So it's a good habit to start getting into.
What if we used like I asked earlier with the your folder that you gave us? What if we use those? How would we keep track of that in a text file?
That's a good question, because I don't even think I did that in my own folder. Nope. I just labeled it as, what do you want to call it? Attribution 3.0. That's all I put. All of these are from Sound Bible, I think. So just put like Bernard's Sound Bible audio. That's fine. I'll know what you mean. So you do need to have some of your own recorded audio. May be recorded. There we go. At least one segment must be recorded. Or you could do a whole project with your own recordings, right? Your own voice. You need something specific, record your mom. Hey, Mom. Cry. I need you to cry. They're going to have to. They got to do what they got to do. Any other questions? It's super open. I mean,
Would you be able to show us some past examples?
that's the next thing I was going to do. I mean, I can show you where they're at. I don't think you can hear anything that I'm going to show you. So whatever that's about. Maybe it's because I'm using headphones. I don't know. All I know is that in Zoom here, I go to more and hit share sound and it's checked, but you guys can't hear it. So I don't know what that means. Here's past student examples. It's just in the regular Google Drive folder that has been for all of the past examples. So under audio, I have this whole folder. This is just stuff from last semester only. So I primarily just listed the sounds, right? Like the exported audio clips. So you could listen to them. Some students have more because they did multiple clips. Some people might have just done like a thematic kind of soundscape. So it's just one clip. And I try to include some statements there. So if you're interested in one particularly, you can see what they had in mind. And then I will note that Cole Sackel, his was probably the more in-depth, the most in-depth project last semester. So if you're interested in like some more intermediate sort of things to be exploring, you could actually just download his project and open it up and see what he did. It's like a gig in size though. So feel free to play around and listen to those. Or maybe you guys can do that for 5 minutes and then let me know if you have questions.
So I don't understand what you mean by like 3 separate sound files. Do we like basically just have to make 3 MP3s or something?
So you see here how Sana Gill has 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Yep. So you could like listen to all of those and see what I mean.
Okay.
They're different.
damn light. Can't see anything. Okay. Here goes.
In cover photos friends took for free for the 6-minute songs and all their lifelong dreams the world turned down. They're just dreaming up some life out on the road. Oh, that all my dreams had come true. Thank God for boxes of first CDs.
Yeah, so make sure you remember Project 2 is due before class, and I'll see you on Wednesday. Make sure you guys are bringing some content to start working on projects.
Professor, so